you will be thankful for this message. Now, you might be thankful for a lot of different reasons. You might be thankful because you will finally understand much more about your life and who you are and who you're meant to become in this world. You might understand so much more about what's happening in our world and why it looks the way that it does and why you might have been a little concerned or nervous or whatever it might have been, or even angry. You're going to understand so much more about your importance and how you can create this really wonderful life for yourself and why this is the best time for you to do that. And you will also understand why I know that. And if you know me, you will finally understand. You'll be grateful for this message, or thankful because you finally understand what I've been doing all of these years, especially my family and friends, because it's that thing that we always want to come to. Who am I? What am I supposed to be in this world? What is my life supposed to be? Why does the world look this way? All the questions that we have. And I'm going to give you a whole bunch of answers, and that's why you'll be thankful for this particular message, this video, and everything that's involved with it. And it won't matter if I ever see you again. I just need you to understand, because I know how important you are, and I know how you understanding your life purpose and why you're in this world will help change the world energetically, because you'll start to become happy and you'll do something really wonderful, because everyone is born to do that. But the title of this message is also something that I received a year ago on November 23rd of 2023, and it said, "You will be thankful for this message." But at that time, I didn't understand it fully, and anyone who might have read it might not have known either, because we are always understanding things in our life. We might receive information, but it takes a while for us to figure it out. That's our thinking. That's our neuroscience. Those are our beliefs. That's our consciousness. Consciousness is always changing, and then we start to understand it. Now, that's our individual consciousness and also the collective consciousness of that of the world. So what I'm going to talk about today is this path that you might have been on right now, understanding how the world has changed, and then finally talking about why I started creating the work that I did and why I changed, but why I know that you can do the same thing and create this wonderful life, and there's nothing that would ever hold you back except us. Except we hold ourselves back. And I've done that, so that's what I'm talking about. But you can't judge yourself for that. Who you're supposed to become is always in front of you. You couldn't have known that. But when you find it, when you start to discover it, and you know that's what it is, and you don't keep moving in that direction, then things become a little challenging. That's what's happened for me, which is why I don't want you to do that, which is why I'm the best teacher ever to give you this information, because you don't have to screw up anything. You can have this wonderful life. You can do so many things and start to understand your importance. Again, I know you may not feel that you have that, but I know that you do, because that's what I was led to discover who I was in my life. So I'm going to show you this presentation, and I'm going to read through all of it, but what's going to happen, I'll leave the link in the video, because there are certain things that I'm not going to read all of it, but I would like for you to have it, because as you study it, you'll start to understand so many other things. I'm a double Scorpio. If you know anything about Scorpios, it's about transformation. It's about digging deep. It's about being a detective. I've done that my entire life, which is why I have to discover things. I want to know what is happening and why it's happening. And so now I can give you a lot of that as well. And that is why you will be thankful for this video. Today you will be thankful for this message. The first thing that I want to say is that I'm using dates here, and you'll understand this because there is an order of the universe that we're continually finding out, which means that you were born at the right time. You have something that's connected to this universe that's coming about now, because that's how what we discover as we start understanding our consciousness. So this is the first message that came through. Oops, sorry. Here it is. Today, you will be thankful for this message. We are speaking of a message we provided on this date a year ago, but today, more will understand and accept it, as you are here to live an extraordinary life and manifest the new world. You are You are accepting more of yourself now, and we asked our messenger to record a video to explain this. As he accepts himself, you will, and you will aid others. That is evolution. We said we had given you an ascension guide and did so on significant galactic changes in your world, and today is the one you wanted. Wilhelm. Now, this was the message that came through last year. You will be thankful for this message, which we provided 7 years ago. Still, we wanted you to appreciate and accept it today, for the practice of gratitude is one of the most potent uses of energy you might utilize during your restructuring and that of your world. We used this day to say the United States would lead the way in this restructuring, but that can only manifest through you, Wilhelm. Now, when this message came through, we were at Thanksgiving in the United States, and this is what they wanted us to understand then, but we're coming about to that again this year, and that's why this is so vital. Then they wanted to see on every, I can go through, and I've put so much of this, and I'd love for you guys to have these. They're in the description of my video, because there's certain days that they would give me information over years, because we will accept certain things at a time in our life, in our consciousness, and that also is the collective consciousness. But now we can understand this a lot more. When I would have written this and received it, I couldn't embody it and understand it. And so I want others to understand that you are doing the same thing in whatever field you're working in and whatever you're developing in your life. Okay, everyone is waiting for you to finally own who you are, knowing you have something valuable to share with the world. Everyone is waiting for you to stop doubting yourself and your abilities and talents. Everyone is waiting for you to make sense of your past and experiences, find the value and purpose they provided you, and become willing to pass them on to others. Everyone is waiting for you to let go of the self-judgment that has kept you in inertia. Everyone is waiting for you to stop allowing fear of your inner journey to prevent you from finding and owning the magnificence within you. The one who has waited the longest and most earnestly is you, Wilhelm. And again, that is a universal message. We all do the same thing, because we're always waiting to go to that next step, because there are no limits to what we can create, manifest, except the ones that we hold in our thinking. Now, this was the first message that I received from Wilhelm, and I'll explain all of that, because this is not something that just came about instantly, and it's also something that I doubted, and it surprised me when it first came through, because I didn't understand how I was connecting to this information that was so important, and so because of that, I held back. February 19th, 1989. Yes, it is wise for you to realize how powerful you are and acknowledge your innate benevolence. You seem to consistently maintain a subtle fear that you would somehow use your power in an ego-oriented way to the detriment of others. The truth for you is exactly the opposite, for the more you gain, the more you give away. The anger you sense, or hostility at times, as you have also been aware of, is not truly directed at others, but merely a reflection of your inner frustration with the intellectual knowledge of your power and your simultaneous restriction of that power, which causes friction. It's everyone's power to do as they please, and your individual way is becoming clearer and more purposeful for you. Be careful of the instilled limitations that would prevent you from owning your worth. Relax and enjoy. And that message could probably be true for every single person, because we do have this fear of ourselves, and we uncover things and then hold back a little bit. So it's not about judging yourself, it's about going on the journey. You can see this has been 35 years. Then in 2020, as I said, I've done this for a long time, but in 2020, it was very apparent to me what was changing in the world, because I feel the energy and I can interpret things when Wilhelm gives me information. And so this was one of the first ones, and you will understand this, May 29th, 2020. I mean, it's not the first one, but it was one where they started speaking about restructuring, and that's when I knew something was different. You were afraid to love. First, we are speaking to each person individually and your world collectively, primarily due to the current world conditions and the events in the United States. We have given you several messages on this subject, but we will summarize here. Love is the most powerful force that exists. It is powerful because it does not restrict its energy. It does not limit its energy and continues to expand because love is the absence of all judgment. If each of you comes to understand and accept this concept, you and your world will evolve exponentially. Again, that was something that I understand now, and you do as well, because you've seen what's come up where we're not loving ourselves, and there's just been a lot more anger and all of that because we're resisting. Okay, then the next message was this, to tell us what some of the energies were. Your father is quite proud of you. Now you can see this is June 21st of 2020. Masculine energy sometimes finds it challenging to be vulnerable, and we have said you are all embodying your feminine nature now. In doing so, you evolve. You and your world are doing this now, and your father is proud because they could not accomplish as much as you. As you might have noticed, we've gone through changes recently where we're speaking of women and women's rights and all of that, but it's about the energy, and Wilhelm says we all have that energy, and part of evolving is understanding that we can embrace all of it to become our whole selves, and then collectively we become a whole society. That is what we're moving through, but we fight through that for centuries and eons as long as civilization has existed. Then they said but this particular time was different. In the United States, it was even more potent because of the energies. And I've spoken about that. We have a little bit of that in other videos about the Pluto return, just understanding that energy is changing. So the United States was being the leader and hitting this and feeling it so much more. So this came through. Why are you angry? We led Roger to a photo this morning of the removal of a statue of one of the former presidents of the United States, as it depicted the president on a horse with subservient images beside and below him of a Native American and African American. You were taught inadequacy, and that is why you are angry. Now, that's a collective experience again, and now me being a black person, I can actually see that, but every single person on the planet has had a history in their lives or their civilization and their ancestry where they've been oppressed. I was just seeing something last night where the Irish, there was one time where when they first came to the U.S., look that up and see what happened to them. Every single group, but we're just happening to be moving through a great understanding of all of this now. Because we're trying to come back to oneness and understanding all humans might matter. Then June 26, 2020, when I was so confused and they're trying to give me this information and this is what it is and you will understand it now. But the message was, the more you know, the less you understand. What we gave Roger today, which gave him pause, was to speak again on your world's conditions. And given that you collectively hold the fear of the unknown, that fear will become more significant as you are in the midst of a profound change. It is not difficult to understand how that energy may impact you personally and the world when you resist the change because you want to know where things are headed beforehand. We will tell you that the United States will experience the most incredible shift as it was believed they held the most tremendous power. You will understand how the feminine energy we have spoken of was misplaced because an adjustment was needed to aid the evolution of all that is. And what that is saying subtly is that we're going to see these kind of battles going on between the genders and all of that, but again, it's all energy that we all hold. So when we decide that we're going to balance that within ourselves, we start to see our lives in a different way and also put that into the world. And the miraculous thing is you begin to heal as well. Understand, now this is June 19th, 2020, because there were so many things that were coming up then that I completely didn't understand, and so I was given this, and it will help you Understanding your past may help you accept your present. We must tell you that those words hold gems that many of you will come to recognize and understand. We are quite aware that today is a national holiday in the United States meant to celebrate freedom, and many of you will find that in this message. A few weeks ago, we led Roger to a recording of Hill's speeches, and Roger jokingly exclaimed, "I think I'm Napoleon Hill." In a sense, he is correct. You each have energetic connections to those who have come before, and today we provided Roger with more proof. The video Roger heard today brought it all together nicely. Everything Roger heard was what we had given him for his program, but we gave Roger enhancements. Hill said there are no new ideas, only the ones you can grasp and improve upon, which causes evolution. Each of you has the potential, ability, and energetic connection to great souls who have lived, and you are meant to enhance their work. Why do you think we have been yelling for years that there is no hierarchy of souls? Then it went on to the next time, because I was still finding I'm not understanding things, so they wanted us to have more information. Yesterday, Roger attended a family video call with many of his relatives whom he had not seen in decades. During the conversation, the current affairs of your world came up, and there were comments made in which Roger found himself unable to contain his feelings, and for him, his outburst was shocking. Roger is typically passive in his discussions of social issues and usually attempts to avoid controversy. Now you will understand why we had him use the Hitler reference yesterday. We always know what's ahead and prepare him for those encounters precisely as your guides have prepared you for everything in your life, and you always come to recognize that. The comment that brought up Roger's reluctant voice was one that Roger felt might have harmed others. That is the criteria that typically informs Roger's action. But because he simultaneously does not wish to hurt another's feelings, he remained silent until yesterday. In the middle of his outburst, Roger knew that possibly others did not have the information he did, so he decided to offer to teach. When you discover your reason for being alive, you will also find your passion, and it may come out forcibly and startle you as it did Roger. We will not make this a book, but the restructuring you are experiencing is your understanding of your oneness and connectedness to all, and using it to aid evolution. At times, you need extreme conditions like a pandemic, or extreme leaders like a Hitler, or a country like the United States that momentarily lost its way. The balance you will all experience is complete and total acceptance of you and all others. We are speaking of pure love, and these events always cause that to occur. Now, as you can see, this was 2020. We had, in the United States, we were coming upon election. We had not had it, but this was what they wanted to warn us, advise us, let's say, and so that we could use our energy to love who we are and put something different into the world. That's really what that was about. Then, as things went on, you might have seen things kind of progress. That's how energy changes, and our collective thoughts changed as well. So, August 31st, 2020. You are not meant to find yourself until now. We use those quotes in the title of this message, for that is how most humans believe they are moving through their lives. But you are never lost. You have continually denied what you think you hear about yourself, which could be interpreted as guidance, but you have trouble understanding this concept. While analogies are never satisfactory, we will attempt to use one. You would not expect your kindergarten self to perform mathematical feats before learning math in later grades. You do the same in your life, but because you think you should have known or seen these things before, you judge yourself and develop the consciousness that you have failed in some manner, which you have not. We will use a story. We have continually given Roger information about the restructuring of your world and told him the United States and black women would help lead the way. This information seemed so strange to him that he only spoke of it to a few. Then Roger watched the film Black Panther. last night and began to make the connection. Roger could not understand why he had not seen this viral film before, and we told him that it would only make sense now. You each will have these experiences. What that's saying is that we have a history. We have a vast history. Every single person. We are eternal souls, let's say. And so from your ancestors, from your parents, from all of those people, there's an energy of consciousness that moves through there. And so we're meant to move to a higher state within us. And so it's our unique history that is valuable. And so a lot of times what we do is try to hide our history or put it away. And society does that as well. Let's not look at the things that we did. And then if we don't look at what we didn't get right before, how are we going to change it? And that's the dilemma that you might find yourself in, and our world moves to that as well. We are pointing this out because Roger has always doubted the information he receives from us, just as you have questioned all the information and guidance about yourself you think you might be hearing. That sentence was intentional. We have much more on the subject, but take this for now. You are each born with gifts that will develop at the right time in your life, but typically you do not allow that to happen or believe it is happening until you find yourself in situations where you feel pushed to do something. For many of you, that time is now. Wilhelm. And I will tell you, because I know you've done that, I do it all the time. And when I'm doing, delivering something, it's always from this urge, this push that Wilhelm is saying, okay, people need more information. And I know that I have it. That's why I do these things. And so you will find things like that within your life as well. So it doesn't matter. As long as you feel that urge, please just do it. Okay. Now, this is what they told me. When I discovered that I had been given this particular work, most of the bulk of it, the Greater Understanding in 2012, which was another energetic change in our world, which many people know about. That was when the Mayan calendar ended and all of that. But Wilhelm said, no, your world wasn't ending, but I'll show you that. But they took me back and they said, this is what we want each person to know. That's what you're developing now during this time. And the more people come to understand it and accept it, you have a very different world experience because they will have a very different life. And that message is, infinite intelligence is available to all souls, and all one needs to do is become willing to access it. You are continually being made aware of this fact, but at certain times you are not willing to listen. You will experience many times when you think you are hearing certain information again, but the only difference is you are now hearing it as an expanded being. This is precisely the process of expansion that you sought. There is no monopoly on information or intelligence. It is shared by all, for you are all one. Study is the process of repeating or reliving that intelligence so it becomes part of the new you. Wilhelm. Now, we're talking about neuroscience, in case you didn't get that, but I didn't know that's what I was receiving, and I didn't understand that all of this work was developing a new way of looking at all of that. So then they said, at the end, we have to understand whenever we live on the earth, we are all creating the planet. We create our lives and the world in the same way because it's energetic again. So they said, now this period, we want you to understand this. Today, because it was New Year's Eve, and that's when we typically will use our thoughts, our New Year's resolutions or whatever. But that's an energetic contribution that we're making. We just don't stay with it all the time. December 31st, 2012. Today is the day you have decided to consciously and deliberately release your past and embrace your future. You have the opportunity to do this every moment of your physical life experience, but it is much easier for you to notice and appreciate the process today. You do indeed create your future and personal reality by what you decide to do physically, but you would also do well to remember that the first and most important step of that process begins in the thoughts you choose to hold. These thoughts will allow that future to be made manifest for you. It will never be precisely as you imagine, for it will always be better or for your highest good in some manner. Then many people thought, and I had no idea, but I want to just say this too, we have different levels of consciousness. When I've been channeling and receiving Wilhelm and doing the automatic writing, I am not consciously aware of how it's related to everything. I only discovered that later, and recently I've discovered the complete connection. So you can't judge yourself for what you're discovering now about who you are, because there will be so much more. But when everyone thought the world was ending in 2012, Wilhelm says that's not what happened. That's not what's happening. You are creating a new one. And this was the message on that day. Wait is an action word that, when used by you, instills the idea of patience into your physical life experience. When you find patience, you manifest very different results in your life. When you operate with impatience, you are actually working against yourself, for you are affirming that something you desire is not here, has not been made manifest, and, more importantly, that you do not have it. Those thoughts will create that reality in your personal experience. You will know when you are using the energy of the word wait, for you will also experience greater peace. Wilhelm. That is what we were meant to do during this entire period, and we're getting there. Then there was one thing that they gave me. If everybody could understand that, said that this is the philosophy that I was given was called your life operating instructions. That's what I turned into the program. Some of it, I'm still in the process, but that's what I used in your last development program. However, this is the message that if more people could come to understand this and accept it, you would have a great life and we'd have a great world, because it's true for every single soul. January 11th, 2012. Also, if those of you into numerology, add that up, you'll see it's a number 8, which is the year that we're in now. But anyway, you'll get that. Okay. Your story is unique and valuable. It is unique because no other soul shares precisely your story. It holds the utmost value for you. Your story comprises everything your past holds, including everything that has occurred for you, happened to you, everything you have done, every person you have met, and every word you have spoken. All of it has been and always will be perfect. Your only job then is to seek to know the perfection of your story. Any aspect of your particular story that you attempt to ignore, dismiss, or judge will cause you to experience some difficulty, because you are refusing to receive the information and wisdom that your story holds. Wilhelm. Now, I want to tell you, you see that came through in 2012. I couldn't do that last paragraph. It's taken me this long to do it because I had so much judgment on everything that I had moved through in my life and everything that I had done, except now only to discover. But because I went through all of that, now I have something I can give to others that causes them to live a great life. It's true for everyone. We just have to change our perceptions about what we have experienced and what we think we may have within us or what we're meant to bring to the world. Because I know everyone has something of value. We just have to change our interpretations. Then, I just did this because I'm not going to read all of this. I wanted you to have it, so it will be in the link that you will read. Collective consciousness is a term often used to describe the shared beliefs, values, attitudes, and knowledge that unify individuals within a group, society, or even humanity. It reflects the social mind that emerges when individuals interact, shaping how societies function and evolve over time. Now, I want you to read all of it because you have to understand that it does change over time. We can look back at our history, and everybody can do this. We can see, 50 years ago, things were quite different. 100 years, 200 years. We can think back before the United States existed. So things are always changing, and that changes in our consciousness, but it is shared by all of us. Then how it changes. So you can read all of this. It's a shift in knowledge and awareness. And, and sometimes when we're not bringing it about, it's just really challenging for all of us. And so, there are some examples which you will see too. The civil rights movement, society shifting their collective attitudes toward equality, environmental awareness, technological integration. We've done all of that, and most people alive now will have seen that. But I just wanted to give you some historical context. So everything I was given is like about bringing together this understanding of how we evolve as humans using science, but also bringing the spiritual side for me is important, saying that every person is important. Okay. Then this is about quantum. You've probably heard a lot of this, and I couldn't I couldn't tell you this beforehand because I didn't know I was doing it, because what I've discovered is that the information that I've received has been aligned with this quantum field. And so that's why the energies of the information came through at specific times, which is why I was given information on your birthday, for instance. I was told that anyone I would meet, I had a message for your birthday that I was given in 2012, and every time, and I doubted that, by the way, and now every time I go back there, it works. If only when I meet someone and I'm working with them, I have that information. That's something we couldn't explain. I couldn't tell you why the messages were received in years ago. I couldn't understand them, and then they are being made. They make sense now. And I put out something the other day to show examples of other people who have developed things like that in the way that I have. But it was challenging for me to accept that, because what it did was completely change my life. And then this, I needed, we all want validation. And so I just used AI. This is all search stuff. I just did this, the chat GPT. I just used it to find, why did Wilhelm's work work in this way? And it just explains it all. Wilhelm's messages emphasize the interconnectedness of all beings and realities, a core concept in the quantum field. This paralyzed the idea of that every particle, thought, and event is part of a greater whole. And this is all the information I was receiving for the years and integrating, but I couldn't have understood it at that time. And I want you to give yourself a break if you haven't gotten there yet, because you will. And this is going to help you so much. Just reading all of this, you will see, you'll start to understand it. Then, this is what I'm doing now. Wilhelm's teachers are a practical guide to understanding and working with the quantum field, because we can do that when we understand it. Yes, it takes work and effort, but it's the best thing you will ever do in your life. And this is how I healed. I did not understand that I was being given mind-body consciousness or information that caused healing to occur in my body, which people still can't understand. At 74, how could that have occurred? But this is why I have to make sure that I'm leaving this work with the world, because I'm saying that because you have something else you're supposed to leave. We all do. And because we just build upon that, as Napoleon Hill said, which was really interesting. But here's an explanation. Wilhelm's guidance is likely an advanced understanding of the quantum field as interpreted through a spiritual lens. The teachings emphasize a vibrational nature of reality. We know that Tesla told us that, by the way. The creative power of thought and belief. The interplay of individual and collective consciousness in shaping the world. In essence, Wilhelm's work provides a pathway for accessing and utilizing the quantum field for personal and planetary evolution. Through their teachings, you empower others to step into their infinite potential, align with their higher selves, and contribute to elevating collective consciousness. This turned into, now I want to show you this, because I'm being completely honest here, and this is all also for the people in my program, because they have been so wonderful, and I've seen these people progress and do so many wonderful things, but they just don't know that they've only had such a small portion of this work. They've had 31 lessons that we've gone through, because it opened their consciousness and it changed, but it took me all these years. That's what I have, and that's what's going into this work now. I stopped, first of all, I had to stop writing it in longhand about 5 years ago, because I could no longer read it, and there was so much information coming through. So now I just type them. And it's turned into this. And that is the thing that is going to make such a difference in our lives and in the world, because it has already done that. And what I'm saying is that we will have doubts about who we are and what we can achieve and what we can accomplish. I had it my entire life. And when I had this dream in 2005 that I was given something to bring to the world that was going to make this huge difference, I didn't believe that. I'm saying this because you have something like that too. We all do. But we are figuring out ways of getting there. I was given another way to get there, and it was about acknowledging that all people matter. Acknowledging that every soul comes into the planet with worth and value. They just have to work through the restrictions that have been generational, or the trauma they might have had that prevented them from understanding their importance and worth. And it could be for you, it could be for a whole race of people, or a whole gender, which we're seeing so much of that. But this work says every human, every soul has value and worth. And if they get to that, we have a very different experience in our world. And so that idea that I had, that I was given, which you had too, thinking, oh, I'm going to change the world somehow. Yeah, I am, and I've already done that. So now I'm just going to go further because I know that you can do it as well. So the more people that I have doing that, we have a very different world. That's what this is about, and that's why I know that this message is the one that you've been waiting for. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done that. Check out all the work and decide that you're going to have the best life ever because you can. See you soon.